What's up, everybody? This is Ken, Real Talk 1111. Today's episode, I got a buddy of mine, Carlos P. Carlos is a single dad, uh, serious about his recovery, but he's not Captain Recovery. Wanted me to make sure that people knew that. He's a secretary. He holds a service position at one of the meetings, and he's very serious about his recovery. Um, we're going to talk today about a little bit about life, AA versus NA, life, death, peer support, recovery programs. Uh, Without any further ado, man, Carlos, what's up,
Thank you,
brother?
Ken. Thanks for inviting me, buddy.
Uh, I'm really grateful, man, that people give me a platform and trust me enough to put their stories out there. And I met you in the rooms. Um, Although I'm surprised we'd never met in the
Yeah,
streets.
yeah, yeah. I tried to keep a low profile on the streets, man. I kept a really small circle.
Yeah.
But even though I don't care how small your circle is, eventually you're gonna pay that price.
Yeah. Well, this is a small town too,
Yeah,
man. Everybody, if you don't know somebody, you know somebody that knows
yeah, yeah,
them. But so just a little bit of background, man. You're Hispanic
yeah.
in Lancaster, Ohio, which is not very
No,
common.
there- there's
You're a minority.
right now. There's not that many
Yeah.
Mexicans around or Hispanics. I'm trying to group them all together. Cuban, Puerto Rican, I don't care. There's not that many of us here in
Yeah.
this town. There's
Yeah.
not. I think the only ones and the ones that are here work at the Mexican restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Which they're fresh. They're
Yeah,
fresh.
yeah. Like they don't even speak English.
Where'd you grow up at?
I was born in Houston, Texas.
Okay.
Uh there's a long story behind what happened between Houston, Texas. But I grew up in Virginia.
Yeah.
I grew up in Virginia. It's like this little small town called Chincoteague, Virginia.
Hmm.
And that's where they say Blackbeard Heritage Treasure. But
Oh yeah,
yeah,
never heard of it, but
yeah.
okay.
But it's like an hour north, hour and a half north of Norfolk, Virginia, where the naval base is.
Yeah.
That's where I grew up.
All right. And then came to Lancaster. What I think we talked 2003,
Yes.
so 20 years ago. Came
Yeah.
to Lancaster. What was that like?
It was it was different because when I first got here, it was like one of those storybook towns that you there's only white people here, you know what I mean? And
Kind of like Mayberry. We
yeah,
we used to call it Mayberry.
Yeah, Mayberry. And when I first got to Lancaster, like you said, there wasn't many Hispanics around. There was not many black people around either.
Yeah.
So it was mostly a majority white town.
I say that I'm Mexican.
I get it. I get it. Actually, when I first met you, I thought you were Hispanic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. A lot of people wonder. Think I'm Puerto Rican or Hispanic or
yeah.
something. But yeah, my dad's black.
I was like, oh man, we got another one in the
But uh, we're all related. We're all brothers,
room. Yeah.
right? We're all brothers. Um, were you singled out? Were you singled out here in town?
No,
Did they notice you?
I was noticed, but I wasn't singled out.
Okay.
Um, when I came to Lancaster, I was actually married at the time,
Mm,
and I was severely. I didn't know this myself back then, but I was severely codependent,
mm,
and like I didn't want to do anything to piss my wife off, like a good husband would.
yeah.
And but then when I got divorced, it was it was a totally different story. That's when I started going into the streets. I started messing with people.
Okay. You got let loose, huh?
Yeah, yeah, because
Okay.
my my reason for being sober was not there no more.
Hmm.
Which my wife is my reason to be sober at the time. And when we got divorced, that reason got let go. So
Yeah.
and it happened with my mom too. When my mom passed away, she was the reason. Well, growing up, I just smoked weed. You
Hmm.
know, and I thought it was okay because my dad knew about it. So if dad knows about it, then mom's okay with it.
Hmm.
And then when my mom passed away, because she passed away in 2004,
Mhm.
2003, 2004. And that's when I started going further out. And then, because my mom was my first codependency.
Yeah.
Then after that was my wife. Then after I lost both of them, I was out there. I went hard.
Yeah. Yeah. You made the drug
I,
your wife.
I made the drug my life.
Oh.
It was my life, and anything, everything I did revolved around
Hmm.
that lifestyle. I don't want to say because I don't want to downplay my
It gave
addiction.
you your identity.
Yes, exactly. That's what it did.
Yeah.
I don't want to downplay my addiction because I was an addict, but I was more addicted to the lifestyle than anything else.
Hmm. Well, they say, you're not addicted to the drug or the alcohol. You're addicted to the feeling that you get when
Yeah,
you're in that life or on the drug.
yeah.
That's amazing. Well, I like how you bring up that you were codependent because I feel like most addicts are.
Oh yeah,
we're,
for
we're
sure.
looking, we got that hole or that void, and we're looking for something to give us meaning,
I think that's where the 13th step evolved from.
Yeah.
Because I get it now when they say don't jump into a relationship when
Yeah.
you're fresh into sobriety. I
Yeah.
get it now. I got almost I got 21 months sober
Hey, this is where you clap.
right now. and and looking back at it and watching these new people come in
Yeah.
into sobriety. And I love to watch them come in,
Hmm.
because at first when I first came into sobriety, it was exciting getting those coins and
Yeah.
showing people how far you've come and how
When
much
when you come in, you're hungry,
yes,
and what you don't even really know what you're hungry for.
yes,
Some of them are hungry for another relationship or just to be clean.
attention.
Yep.
And I see the new people always just shacking up together, man, and I'm like, "Oh, that's gonna be all bad. That's gonna be all." And I did it myself, dude.
Yes, yes.
Because growing up as a kid, man, I was my dad was an alcoholic.
Okay.
I never seen that man sober in my life. He stayed drunk all day, every day.
Hmm.
Never seen him sober. He's the one that actually pushed me to this life. Well, he didn't push me into it. He gave me the option
Hmm.
to enter this life. I used to blame my dad for a lot of things, and then when I actually sat down and realized that it was ultimately it was my decision to do all this stuff.
Yeah, it was your decision, but it was comfortable. That's what you knew. It's what you grew up
Yeah,
knowing. So, I mean, what else you gonna do? Anything
and I
else?
was good at it. Well, actually, I wasn't that good at it. Can't lie, dude. Because I was getting high all
But
the
it came
time.
natural.
Yeah, it came natural,
Okay.
but I made money. I didn't make
Yeah.
as much money as I wanted to, but I made money. And I mean, I was if I could just not do my own supply, I would have been great at it.
Yeah.
But that's not me. That's not me.
Well, the codependent side of you needed something
I
to
needed, I needed I needed what they call it. I needed people to see me. I needed to be known. I needed something
validation.
like that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
needed. That's what I needed. I always wanted attention because growing up, like I said, my dad was an alcoholic. He used to beat the shit out of us, man. And there was times where we would decide who was gonna get that ass for that day because it was crazy.
Were you the oldest, middle,
No,
youngest?
there was 7 kids. My parents had 7 kids.
Sheesh.
I was third born,
Okay.
but um, my oldest brother and my baby brother, they had like mild autism, you
Hmm.
know. So with my brother older than me, which who was second born, he was normal, and then it was me, and then my 3 sisters. They were okay too. But like I remember when my brother left, and then I became the oldest.
Hmm.
And when my brother left, I get it, man. You know, I was mad at him because he left us.
Hmm.
You know, but I know why he left because the house was hectic.
Yeah. Chaos.
It was chaos, man. And I know why he left. And And you know what? If he wouldn't have left first, I would have joined the military and I would have left first. And he would have been mad at me, maybe. I don't know. But I was mad at him. But I understood why he left. But
Mhm.
I was still mad at him for leaving us.
Do you see it now in decisions you make and the lifestyle that you choose? Are you like subconsciously looking for that chaos still? Or maybe before you came into recovery, you were looking for it?
Yeah.
Create.
I created chaos. I would go to see a bunch of people get high, hanging out, and I would stir the pot and just leave and let you guys deal with the chaos. That's I loved it. And
Yeah.
I still do. I
Mhm.
still do, but I got things now that I can't sacrifice just for just for drama. I can't
Yeah.
sacrifice those things.
You got a little girl
I
depending
do.
on you,
I
man.
do.
Single dad. That's rough being a
It
single
is. And you know what? I used to joke all the time. I was like, I just tell girls all the time, you'll be a great single mom.
dad.
And my mama just came back and bit me in the ass.
Uh-oh.
Because I mean, okay, I love my daughter. We hang everywhere I go. She,
Yeah. Yeah.
folks, she's the smallest person in the room, but she is my biggest support.
I have heard you make jokes that she attends more meetings than you.
She does, dude. She does because with my work schedule, I want to go to noon meetings,
Mhm.
and then she goes to the same meetings I go take her to, but then the babysitter also takes her to meetings.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
she attends like at least 2, 3 meetings a day.
Is she a product of 13
Yes.
step? Okay. Now, I had a guy the other day, he comes up to me after a meeting and he's like, Ken, what's this 13th step? He's like, I've been looking at all the literature. I've been looking at all the literature. What is it? What is the 13th step?
13th step to me is when you're newly in recovery, you don't know what you want, but you know you want instant gratification. So you find yourself a girl
Ah,
to give you that instant gratification.
hooking up at the
No,
meetings. 13th step. Yeah.
that me and her mom, we were at a LRS together,
Hmm.
Lancaster Recovery Services. We were there together. We were in IOP. It was her first time through that IOP. It was my second time through that IOP because I just come off a relapse.
Gotcha.
So yeah,
Um, you got a lot in common when you're at the meetings and
yeah.
girls, these guys and girls, and you got a lot in common. You got a lot to talk about. You're working through some stuff. It's a trauma bond.
And then when you speak at the meetings, you can speak some bullshit, dude, and it makes you look good. You know,
If you know a little something, yeah.
yeah, you can speak that happy feel good shit. It makes you look good. It's like, man, this motherfucker knows what he's talking about.
Mhm.
And in
He can help.
reality,
He
you
can
don't.
help me through
Yeah,
this.
in reality, you don't. You both got flu stamps. You both have
There's really not a whole lot you can offer
There's not.
somebody except for spitting some shit at a meeting.
Exactly, dude. And it's instant gratification. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You can offer them instant gratification. That's it.
Yep.
Because I mean, in reality, we were both living in sober living. You know,
Yeah.
at the time, I didn't have a job at the time because I was going through IOP and stuff. Uh,
IOP is intensive outpatient. That's like 3, 4 meetings,
yeah,
3, 4 groups
yeah.
a week. Really don't have time to work.
You don't have time to do anything. But I found time to make a baby. You know.
Well, that doesn't take very long.
Yeah. So and that's what it was, dude. We really didn't have anything to offer each other,
Yeah.
but we both wanted that gratification.
Yeah. Yeah. Some company. I've been on a path of self mastery and putting off that self gratification for as long as you can gets you places. Man, it really does. You went through treatment. Uh, Tell me about treatment, or did it work your first few weeks in treatment? So that people listening aren't, I mean, they know what to expect if they're thinking about it.
Okay, so I was I started selling drugs like at the age of 13, all the way through high school. Even when I joined the military after I graduated high school,
Mhm.
and here's where my addiction is. You know, I did basic training. I did my AIT, which is advanced training.
Mhm.
I was a welder in the army,
Okay.
and when I got to my permanent duty station, my first thought was, man, I want to get high, you know.
Hmm.
So I had a roommate, and I asked him, I was like, man, where can we get some weed at around here? He's like, "Man, motherfucker, you're crazy, dude. This is the army, bro. Nobody sells weed on base."
Hmm.
And my addiction is, bam, you could be the only drug dealer on base. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
I I hooked up with this Puerto Rican cat from Savannah, Georgia, because I was stationed in Fort Stewart, Georgia,
Hmm.
and I hooked up with this cat. He was from Savannah. He's Puerto Rican.
So now let me see if I understand this correctly. I'm trying to make the connections where, and you said it earlier, that your addiction is not necessarily the drug, it's the
It's
lifestyle.
a lifestyle.
And so when your addiction kicked in, it wasn't necessarily to get high, it was to be the man.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Okay.
because growing up as a middle child, I was never seen. I was never showed attention. I
Hmm.
was just beaten and neglected.
Hmm.
Now I want to be seen. You know, I'm
Hmm.
away from my dad who beat and neglect me. You know, now I want to be seen.
Yeah.
So I hooked up with this Puerto Rican cat, and weirdest Puerto Rican guy I've ever seen in my life, man. He was blonde hair, blue eyes. I thought he was a white dude until he came spent that game at me, dude. But anyways, I did my thing, man. I sold weed in the military, and then I went to Mardi Gras one time with my roommate because he was from Louisiana, and I took my weed money that I made. He's like, "Hey, man, you want to go get some ecstasy?" I was like, "Absolutely, I do." And,
I want to feel better than I'm feeling right now. Yeah.
yeah, so we uh we went to this guy's house that he knew, and this guy was pressing pills in his basement.
Phew.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and he was like, I was like, "How much are they, man?" He's like, "Well, there's this much." He's like, "But if you buy bulk, I'll give you a discount."
Yeah.
I was like, "Well, how much bulk are we talking about?" He's like, "Whatever you want, man." So I put $5,000 on the table, and he gave me like a bread loaf bag, but it was like three-quarters of the way full,
Hmm.
and I had a blast that weekend. Then I went back to Georgia. I started selling ecstasy. Now I'm selling ecstasy and weed, right? Now I got all this money, so I buy a computer. I'm fucking around with this computer. This is back in like '98, dude.
Yeah.
Like Gateway, like was the best computer out there, and that's what I got.
Yeah. The internet's just now
Yeah,
really getting
still,
full.
it's still dial-up
Yeah.
internet,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I told my dad that I got a computer, right? That was the worst mistake I've ever made. Because then my dad was like, "Hey, kid, did you make IDs?" And I'm like, "I can try because I got a scanner. I got everything for this computer. I got a laminator, everything, dude." And my dad sends me a green card back. Back then, they were actually green cards.
Okay.
Yeah, they were actually green cards, and with a picture on it. He said, "Put that picture on that card."
Yeah.
Like I said, I love the chaos. I love it.
Hmm.
So I did it, man, and it came out pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
And I sent it back to my dad through the mail, and he sent me $500.
Yeah.
I'm like, new business. Eventually, I end up getting busted, man.
Ah, man, a lot of addiction, I think, is being able to get away with something.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
exactly.
it's
Yeah.
being able to bend the rules at your will.
For me, it was to have that godlike
Yeah.
mentality. Like
Yeah.
I've been getting away with this for so long. Like how can I possibly even get in trouble now?
Mhm.
I've been doing it for so long. I could possibly, but I got busted in the military. But I got a slap on the wrist
Mm. First time.
first time.
Yeah.
Slap on the wrist to let me go. So then I got married, and I got sober for 10 years while I was married
Hmm.
because of my codependency. So
Yeah.
that
Well,
codependent.
she filled that void. She's
Yes, yeah, and I was sober for like 10, 12 years
yeah.
through my whole marriage. But then I was working construction, and I fell and I hurt my back, and that's when they started putting me on pain pills.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and at first I was doing them right, and then
Next thing you know, I want to feel better than I'm
next thing
feeling.
you know, I'm like I'm just snorting them, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it it just started getting worse and worse and worse. Just with the pills, that because that's all I was doing. I was just doing the pills, then. And it got so bad that me and my wife ended up getting divorced.
Mhm.
And I was a good dad at the time. Picking my daughter up on scheduled visit times.
You were maintaining.
I was maintaining
Yeah.
for a good 3 to 4 months, and then they had a crackdown on pills,
Ooh.
and I couldn't find them anywhere.
Yeah.
So I had a buddy who did heroin. And he usually family pickles. I had a buddy who did heroin, and he's like, hey man, do this. It's cheaper, it lasts longer. It's pretty much the same thing. But in my mind, I do pills, dude. I don't do heroin. I'm above you. You know.
I'm a classy
Yeah,
addict. I'm a classy
yeah,
addict.
yeah. That's what my mind is telling me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't stoop down to that level.
Yeah, back in the late 90s, I feel like heroin and meth were that back alley
Yeah.
dirty drug that like
But if you did cocaine or pills, then you had some class to you.
yep,
You know.
yep.
But and I didn't want to stoop down and be in the back alleys just yet.
Hmm.
I still had a little degrading myself to do. And that's what I did. You know, and I got dope sick enough that I was like, let me see. How do
Yeah,
you, how do you do this?
yeah.
And
For those that don't know, to come down off of opiates, pills, or heroin is a pain and a hell that is it's
yeah, it's
indescribable.
crazy.
I I used to say, man, pills and shit make you feel like you're 18 again until you don't have them, and then you feel like you're 80.
Oh my God, it's so true. That is so true.
Yeah.
So I started doing that. Now I'm doing it. Now I'm not.
Whoopsie.
I'm not maintaining. I got fired from my job. I'm not seeing my daughter, and so now I'm starting to think, how can I make money, support my habit, still do?
Back to dealing.
Back to D.
Uh-oh.
Uh, I hooked up. I called my sister. She passed away. She hooked me up with this girl, and she was a dealer. So she fronted me, I say 2-3 ounces
Hmm.
at the first
Of heroin.
of heroin. And I started selling heroin here in town. And after that, I left her and I started working for other people. And I had to start wiring back to Mexico. You know, and these people were not good people. You know, my life was over. My life was not my life.
Yeah, your life was controlled by the drug.
By the drug, by the people.
Yeah.
I had no say so in how I spent my time. If they called, I had to answer. I had to be where they wanted me to be. I had to do what they wanted me to do.
Yeah.
That's
Not only that, but in order to get out of bed, you had to stay high.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that was the price I had to pay. I had to leave my family. I had to leave everything. The drugs and the people, the chaos, controlled me now.
Mm.
And I knew nothing. I knew nothing about the rules. I thought I was gonna die in the streets.
Yeah.
And I went to prison. I got busted again. I went to prison, and that's when I first had my first running with the rooms. But
Right.
it was AA, you know.
Hmm.
And I went in there. They said, "Hey, you want to go to AA meeting?" They're doing it in the library at the prison. I'm like, "Sure, why not?" It breaks up the monotony of the day. You're
Right.
not doing the same thing. So I go to this meeting, man, and I was locked up in Nova,
Hmm.
and I go to this meeting, and it was not a meeting. They called it a meeting, but it was not a meeting. It was just us watching a fucking movie. That's all we did. We
Huh.
watched movies, but that was my first thing, my first introduction to AA. I was like, this is what AA is because I do know better. I didn't know no better.
Yeah.
So this is what AA is to me.
Hmm.
And I kept going to those meetings. And then I got out of prison.
Was there anything in those meetings that maybe planted a seed or
No,
maybe
no,
nothing?
they didn't even do the readings.
Wow.
Like
Okay.
they didn't do the preamble, how it works, none of that shit. We just went in, sat down, watched
Okay.
a bunch of movies.
Okay.
That's what we did. And I got out of prison, and I stayed clean for about 8 months after prison,
Mhm.
and then I started dealing it. And
Thinking that you could deal without doing.
no, I wanted to do.
Oh, okay.
No, that was there. That I wanted to use again.
Yeah, okay.
So, um, yeah, I started dating again, started getting high again, and my probation officer, you know, I was living in Columbus at the time on
Mhm.
the west side, and my probation officer calls me. He's like, "Hey man, you need to come in." I was like, "No," like I'm going on the run.
Yeah.
I was like, "I'll see you when you catch me," And I was at this time, at that time I was doing fentanyl too.
Yeah.
So I was doing fentanyl, I was doing cocaine, smoking meth. Yeah, I was going through it, man.
Whatever. Put it in front
Yeah, I think they call it a general user.
of
I
you.
use whatever the fuck is in front of me.
Yeah.
Crack, I was doing that, dude. I was going through it.
Yeah. And the you had the drugs to come up and you had the drugs to
Yeah,
come down.
because I needed to sleep, so I smoked some fatty and go to sleep. So I told my PO I was going on the run, and I talked to my daughter. She called because her brother just passed away from fatty overdose, and she called me. She's like, "Dad, what are you doing?" Now, granted, I haven't talked to my daughter for a long time, and she ended up calling me. She's like, "Dad," she's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Nothing." She's like, "You're PO." She's like, "I know you're on the run." She's like, "You need to turn yourself in." I was like, "All right, baby." I was like, "I'll turn myself in." This is like on a weekend, like on Monday or something. I was like, "I turn myself in this coming weekend." She's like, "Nope." She's like, "Turn yourself in tomorrow, or you can forget that I was ever in your."
Mm.
And that's what I did, dude. I turned myself in the next day.
Yeah, she had some sense about it then.
Yeah. So I turned myself in the next day, and I told my PO, first question I asked him, how much time am I going to do the rest of my time? He's like, no. He's like, you're going to rehab. I was like, no, the fuck I'm not. Because I still wanted to get high, and I know if I go to prison, I can still get high in prison.
Yeah.
He's like, no, you're going to rehab. He's like, you're not going back to prison. He's like, you are going to rehab.
Mhm.
And I fought him, dude. I
Mhm.
fought him. And he put me in the jail here, and I sat there, and I started detoxing
In jail.
in jail. It was rough. I've done it before,
Yeah.
but it was rough because now I'm detoxing off of fatty.
Yeah.
It was rough. And there was a guy in there. And this guy planted the seed. I don't even know his name, but we were in the block, and he always sat by himself, read the Bible. You know, nobody messed with him, but nobody talked to him either. He was just there. He just existed.
Minding his own business.
Yeah, he was doing his own
Yeah.
thing. So I was like, let me go up and talk to this guy, see what he's about. So I went up, talked to him, man, and we had this conversation. And he said, asked me, he's like, what are you doing in here? He's like, what are you here for? He's like, I turned myself in. I was a drug addict, streets. I was like, what'd you do? He's like, it don't matter what I did. He's like, we're both in here. I was like, damn, this dude.
Mhm.
Like, okay. And I was like, yeah, we're both in here. I was like, what are we gonna do? He's like, just give up, man. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, give up. He's like, give up living your life. Give up making decisions for yourself. I was like, then how am I gonna live? He's like, just let the Lord take it over. He's like, let God.
Yeah.
Like,
In treatment, we call that surrender.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this dude's great. You know, this is great.
What am I supposed to go be a monk or something now?
Yeah. So I quit messing with it. But the seed was all in there.
Mhm.
The seed to surrender was planted in my head.
Yeah.
And the very next day, I was in the Max block, you know,
The big
and
boys.
the big with the big boys.
Mhm.
And I was in the Max block, and I seen Pastor Tom doing his little rounds and stuff.
Yep.
And before, when I was in jail before, Pastor Tom never came to the Max box. He just did the open pods.
Hmm.
And I seen him outside our pod, man, and he's getting this chair together, putting stuff on it. They open the door and he slides this chair in. It has a Bluetooth speaker on it. And he's doing a sermon on the other side of the glass wall, right? So I was like, okay.
Pastor Tom's come up and probably three or four of my guests have talked
Pastor
about him.
Tom is a big deal.
He's probably a saint.
Yeah.
He's probably a saint.
If he's not, he's working his way to sainthood.
Yeah, yeah.
And the sermon he gave that day was about surrender. So there's the water to the sea,
Yeah.
you know, and he gave such a great sermon. And this is gonna sound fucking cliche as fuck, but I don't care. I went back into my cell, dude, and I dropped my like I'm done, dude. I'm done. I'm done fighting for this life. I'm done. And I had a visit with my PO the next day, and he was ready to fight me because he knew that I wanted to go back to prison. So he's like, he came onto the screen on the kiosk. He's like, before you say anything, I'm telling you, there's a woman that's gonna come visit you tomorrow. I was like, look, man, I'm done fighting. I was like, send whoever you want, dude.
Yeah.
I don't care. I was like, I'll go wherever you send me, and I promise you, I'll give you 100% of wherever you send. Whether you send me to prison, whether you send me to rehab, I'll give you 100%. I was like, I will not try to run. I will do my best. He was like, he was shocked, and he sent me to bars.
What's PARS is Pickaway area.
Recovery service.
Okay. Yeah. They do a lot.
They do, they do. I was in a circle there, and my first counselor there was Miss Taylor. Now, Miss Taylor was a little short girl. I call her a girl because she was only like 19, 20 years old, dude.
Okay.
You know, she was very young. And you can tell that this lady was never in the streets.
Okay.
You know, you can tell.
Hmm.
And I'm sitting there looking at her like, how is this gonna help me?
Yeah.
How is she gonna help me? Like she knows nothing about my life. I thought I came into a recovery and sobriety thinking I was the shit. Like nobody's done what I've done. Nobody's been through what I've been through.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how wrong I was.
That's a common
Yeah.
theme among addicts and stuff. You think that you're
Special.
yeah,
Unique.
yep,
Unique.
yep, and really there's somebody out there who's done far worse or far better or more or
Yeah.
yeah,
So, I'm talking to Miss Taylor, and man, she's just so good. She made me realize things about myself that I didn't know. She made me realize how codependent I was at the time.
okay,
I knew nothing about codependency.
yeah,
I didn't even know that word existed till she told me it existed. And she showed me how codependent I was. Not just upon the drugs, but females. Because that was my codependency, dude. It was my mom, my wife, my other baby mom, you know.
yeah, yeah,
My codependency was against that two-legged dope.
yeah,
That was my codependency, man. And I did bars, I graduated, and they sent me to sober living, and I was in IOP again here in Lancaster at Lancaster Recovery Services.
hmm,
And my first relapse happened 6 months after I left bars
okay,
because I left bars, and my mom had passed away in 2003,
hmm,
and it was rough, man. I never mourned my mom. I was a mama's boy, dude. She was a saint. There was no woman ever in the face of this earth that could compare to my mom,
hmm,
you know, because she was abused just like us. My dad beat the shit out of her too,
yeah,
and but she handled it like a fucking a woman. I don't know how a woman is, but that's her, dude.
A champ, huh?
She was it, dude. My mom was my entire life.
So you just stayed high instead of mourning,
Yes,
or found another female to
I found,
try
yeah,
to
to
take care.
fill a void.
Yeah.
And when I 6 months after I left Pars, it was my mom's death day,
Mm,
and I got high, you
yeah.
know. But this time I was in recovery. So when I went back to Pars, there was like, what happened? Like, I guess you have this look to you after you get high because I
Yeah.
went back and they're like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "Nothing." Like, what do you mean? I got high yesterday, the day before. I was sober. I come off already. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And it's like, no, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
And I didn't admit to it till I got back up to it. And I was like, all right, I knew yesterday. And they asked me why. I told them, it's my mom's death day. So they sent me to, well, no, they did send me to detox that time because I only used it one time. So they restarted my IOP.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was get ready. I was actually out of IOP. I was in codependency class.
Yeah.
So they pulled me out of those. I
So I,
restarted my program.
so IOP starts out usually like 5 days a week,
Yeah,
and then you work down to four, three, two, and then you kind of work your way out of the system. But when they restart your
yeah, you
program,
got to start off.
going back to
Yeah,
5 or 6 days a
yeah.
week,
So
sometimes seven.
yeah, so there I restarted IOP, and that's when I met my daughter's my
Okay.
baby girl's mom. That's
Okay.
when I met her, and man, we kicked it off
Yeah.
right away, dude. And actually, my there was another Mexican guy in IOP with me. He came from Star, and he actually liked her a lot. So I stayed away, but he never shot his shot, man.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started talking to her, and we kicked it off right away, dude. And next thing you know, she got pregnant. Next thing you know, she broke up with me, and it was rough, man, because I really love this girl,
Mm-hmm.
and she's pregnant with my kid,
Mm-hmm.
and now we broke up. And guess what kicked in again?
Mm.
That damn codependency, man.
Hello, relapse.
Exactly, and that's exactly what happened. But then this time, man, I've noticed. This is what I've noticed about myself. My relapses get worse and worse.
How, when you say worse and worse, are you doing more, or just the the self-talk in your head is
I'm,
worse?
I'm just I'm doing more dangerous things
Okay.
because like I said, there was another Mexican guy in IOP with me.
Hmm.
He'd already graduated. He's moved to Columbus by now. Okay, so now I relapsed again. He's picking me up after IOP, and we're going to Columbus. And you know, being from that lifestyle, he was from Mexico. I was gangbanging in prison, and in the streets. He was also gangbanging in the streets. So we started selling drugs together, and
Just slid right back into that.
we just so easily,
Yeah.
dude, so easy. And now we're kicking doors in, man. We're stealing cars.
Mm.
We're doing crazy things, and we're filming all of this. We're we're recording all of it, dude.
The insanity
The
of,
insanity.
yeah.
Now that I look back at it, man, the insanity was atrocious. But I think I was recording it for that attention,
Yeah.
because I didn't have nobody's attention.
Mhm.
And like I said, my relapse got worse and worse, man. I'm carrying guns now. I'm on probation, man. I shouldn't be carrying a gun.
Yeah.
We're riding in the car, and he came and picked me up one night, and we're riding in the car, and we're like almost to Columbus, and I happen to look up in the back seat, and he's got two AR-15s just sitting in the back seat. I was like, bro, what are you doing, man? He's like, what? I was like, you got the guns in the back seat? He's like, yeah. He's like, you ought to see what's in the trunk. so, so before I get to where we're going, this dude had 4 kilos of fatty in the trunk.
Shoo.
I'm like, bro. I was like, you cannot ride around like this here in America, man. I was like, you cannot do this in America. He's like, we do this all the time in Mexico. I was like, this ain't Mexico, dude. I was like, you can't
Yeah.
do this. You can't ride around with guns and drugs in the car. I was like, you're, but that was the lifestyle that I missed.
Yeah.
I, I told him we couldn't do it, but we kept doing it.
And when you're in it, it doesn't seem I, I know it sounds amazing to people listening, but you just take little steps towards it. Little step, little step, little step. One minute you got a handgun for protection, and the next minute you're riding around in a stolen vehicle with ARs. I went through similar experiences with my dope boys and stuff like that, and it's almost like you just let yourself go, and then the next thing you know,
You justify it.
yeah,
I justified it because, well, you know, I know later we're gonna go kick this door in because the dude owed us money, so we need these guns in the car so when we go do that, that was the justification, you know, and so dude brings me back to Lancaster because I got IOP the next day.
you got to go to treatment
Got to go to treatment, right?
and be on time.
So I come back to Lancaster and he hangs out with me and we're getting high, and I overdose.
Mhm.
And this was on my baby mom's birthday. I overdosed on her birthday. She probably doesn't know. She knows now, but she's never.
Yeah.
But like I never took her. I overdosed on her birthday, and this dude got. He couldn't bring me back. He had to call the squad. And I remember there was a bunch of fetty in my apartment, and when I came to, it was clean. I was like, dude, what happened? He's like, you did too much, dumbass. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, where did it all go? He's like, I had to put it away. I had to move the car down the street because they ain't got no tags on it. He's like, don't ever do that again, dude. I was like, all right. So he's like, man, I gotta go. He's like, we were planning on going to California in a few days, but that overdoses would change my life because I remember one of the cops. He's like, hey, don't you go? Ain't your probation officer? It was what the fuck was his name? But my probation officer, he seen me at the probation office.
Mhm.
And he's like, don't you go see your probation officer? I was like, yeah. Well, the next day, my probation officer called me. He never calls me, dude.
Yeah.
He's like, what happened this weekend, man? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you all right? Now, at that moment, I knew there was either one or two things that were going to happen. Either I'm going to run or I got to admit to what I did.
Mhm.
And I told him, I said, man, I slipped up, man. He's like, yeah, I heard. He's like, I just wanted to see if you'd tell me. So I was like, so what's the move now then? He's like, well, he's like, you got to do some jail time. He's like, because he let me slide a lot. And that's what my life is. A lot of people been letting me slide.
Yeah.
Like there was really no consequences to my actions.
Yeah.
And I've been getting slid a lot. And he's finally like, look, man, you got to go to jail. I was like, okay. So I went to jail. I found this out later. But the guy that I was running around with, he got caught the day after I went to jail. And he's doing 14 years in prison now. So if I would have went on the run with him.
Yeah.
I'd have been doing those same 14 years with him.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what they call your higher
That,
power doing for
yeah,
you what you couldn't do for
that's your
yourself.
higher power looking out for me, man. And I did 4 days in jail that time, and he did 14. It doesn't seem fair, but it is what it is. And,
Yeah, it's kind of like I think there's a Buddhist term, or at least it's an ancient Hindu belief that you have to die before you can be reborn.
yeah,
You have to let that old life go, and you actually literally
yeah,
did that.
yeah. So my PO sent me to Creed this time, and I didn't graduate Creed, but I'm not gonna knock them because they helped me out a whole bunch.
Yeah.
And you know what actually opened my eyes? And this is gonna sound morbid, but before you phase up in Creed, from phase one to phase two, you have to write your own obituary.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm sitting here trying to write my obituary, and I can't find a single thing good about myself to say about myself. And that's what opened my
Damn.
eyes up.
Yeah.
That's where it happened. That's what opened my eyes up. I couldn't find a single good thing to say about myself. I couldn't say I was a good father because I wasn't. You know, I couldn't say I was a good person because I wasn't. I wasn't even a good drug dealer, man. You know, I was I wasn't good at anything. And
Mhm.
that's what opened my eyes up. And then, I went through Creed and, did everything and I finally had enough of it.
Creed catches a bad rap, man, from a lot of people, but it's all from people that got their ass set in the bed,
Yeah, yeah. And
But yeah, they're changing lives.
it changed my life, man. And their program is their program, but the way you work it depends on you.
Yeah.
And, like I said, I never graduated Creed, but I left and I left right after I got off probation.
Mm.
A month after I got off probation. I was 5 years on probation.
That's a slippery slope.
That's a slippery slope. And it was on my 6 month. I can never go over that 6 month time because my first relapse happened when my mom's death date came,
Mhm.
and then I relapsed. Then my baby mom broke up with me. 6 months, I relapsed. I got off probation 6 months after I got into Creed, and I fucking relapsed. I didn't relapse this time.
Okay.
Everybody thought I was gonna relapse,
Yeah.
but I actually stayed a month extra after I got off probation at Creed,
Okay.
and I was scared, man, because I'm like, man, at 6 months, I'm off probation.
Yeah.
I can leave if I want. I have nobody to answer to. And it was just another day. It was just another day. I I don't have to get my meeting slip signed anymore. I go to meetings because I need to go to meetings. That's what keeps me so.
Yeah.
Meeting.
You go to a lot of meetings, man.
I do,
Go
man.
to a lot of meetings. We were talking about AA versus NA. You do both.
I do both. Yes.
What's uh what's some pros and cons for each one?
Well, when I first came into recovery here in Lancaster, I used to go to NA,
Hmm.
right? And this was when it was held over at the Center Post.
Yeah.
There was a different vibe to NA. It was more. It was high schoolish. Like if you weren't in the clique,
Yeah.
then you really wasn't
Then you weren't in.
part. Like you were a part of NA, but you weren't really a part of NA. You can come to the meetings, but
Yeah.
nobody's gonna fuck with you.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that a lot. I was included into the clique when I got there, so I didn't really notice it. But after you're there for a while, you realize that um, the trusted servants are the trusted
Yeah.
servants, and nobody else is getting in. And man, it was rough. It was almost a blessing when they got kicked out of.
Yeah, because then I heard like I didn't go to NA for a long time after that. I was just strictly going to AA. Then I heard NA got moved to Nations West.
Mhm.
There's like, man, it's really different now. He's like the same people that were running it or not running it. They're different people. I was like, well, I'm gonna give it a shot. And I started going to NA. And the difference between NA and pros and cons. NA speaks more to my addiction of what I'm addicted to, the
Mhm.
chaos, the attention.
Mm. Yeah.
AA is more structured.
Okay.
Like I thrive in structure.
Yeah.
When somebody tells me what to do and I don't got to think for myself, that's the best.
Yeah.
So, you have a sponsor, right? And he tells you you got to do this, 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 and this.
Mhm.
Okay. Now in NA, there there's people with a lot of recovery in AA.
Yes. A
A
lot
lot
more
strong
time.
recovery. Yes,
Lot more time.
long time recovery.
Mhm.
Not so much in NA. There is, but there's not that many people with that much recovery.
Yeah. Yeah. They're spread out more,
Yeah.
I think, or something.
And that's the reason I started because I didn't do my 12 steps before.
Mhm.
That's the reason I want to do 12 steps now because I like my codependency now is I like help whether it just be by answering the phone, giving them a ride, talking to them, you know, that's how I help them. And I've noticed that a lot of people coming up to me now and want me to be their sponsor. And in my it, what my sponsor told me is you can't sponsor until you do the steps.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm doing my steps now because now I want to sponsor people.
Yeah. And you want to do it right, man. You
Yeah.
don't want to steer people in the wrong direction. I just did an interview with Bing, and he does both. And I've done a lot of AA
I mean,
meetings.
I met you in a
Yeah, I think man, it's almost important to at least get familiar
yeah.
with both. Um, just because of the subtle differences but you meet people and I see people out in public and it's like, it's
Yeah.
you got a brotherhood or something, man.
Well, it's more it's a whole family, man.
Yeah.
Because like they'll help you out with anything. You know, who'd ever fucking think that you get a whole bunch of addicts together, right? And they start living their life good. They start living their life clean. And all of a sudden, we go from robbing and scamming each other to helping each other.
I say all the time, if the apocalypse hit, I would want to be with all these addicts because they're the most creative,
Yeah.
get shit done type of people.
Yeah. Like I'm getting an apartment, right? I'm
Mhm.
signing a lease. And yeah, I live with where my sister used to live and stuff. And it's time for me to move on, you know. But all I really own is my clothes and coat hangers. That's all I own, dude, for real.
Okay.
Everything else is my sister's stuff, you know. All I really own is clothes and coat hangers. So, but I'm getting so much help through the sobriety, not just NA, but AA community too.
Yeah.
You know, they like, hey man, what do you need? I was like, bro, I need everything.
It's amazing how people come together, and I think it's because we're fighting a common enemy.
Yeah,
We all have that common enemy that we're fighting against, and we know the struggle.
I mean, we've all been through pain, man. And, you know, we know what that pain is. You know, to have somebody else go through that same pain, like we don't want to see
Yeah.
that. And we'll help.
Yeah, and a hand up is different than a hand out.
Yeah,
You know that you got that family and stuff like that. So that leads me to what you talked about is helping you even more than the step work is peer support.
yes, I started doing my peer support classes, and I'm not knocking the 12 step work,
Yeah.
but that peer support just opens up my mind
Yeah.
to not to like peer 12 step work to do sponsorship. You're working one on one, like, but the peer support, man, like it teaches you how to behave around other addicts, what to say, what not to say,
Yeah.
and it just opened my whole mind up to this whole other way of thinking.
The questions to ask,
Yeah,
how to listen when somebody's
yeah, and
talking.
actually, that's actually helped me out more than the 12 steps. Is doing peer support.
So peer support is for anybody who doesn't know, peer support, they have jobs now in every treatment facility, all across every state and every community for people that have lived experience with addiction or mental health services, um, that can get jobs hired on. You get state certified, you go
Yeah,
through a training program, you get hired on at decent livable wages, um, to help to help other people going through the same thing, man.
Well, I'm gonna take a pay cut,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna. My plan is to do it part time,
Hmm.
do part time peer support, and still work my job, and then work towards CDC.
Nice. Nice. And the best way to learn is to teach, you
Yeah,
know. When you're when you're giving back, you're meaningful, you're filling that codependent void.
yeah.
You're important. You're the man again
Well,
to yourself.
yeah, to myself, but now I don't want to be. I don't want to be the center of attention anymore.
Okay.
I just I don't want to just exist either,
Hmm.
but I don't want to be the center of attention anymore.
When did that change? What do you think made that?
I don't know, but I think it's when I became a dad. Not when I became a dad, but when I became a single dad.
Yeah.
You know, now I have this whole other bro. I used to smoke fatty and smoke crack.
Hmm.
Now I'm in charge of a whole human being. I,
It's important.
it's
It's big shit.
it's big shit, man. And
Well, you're the man. You're the man when it comes to
and
supporting her,
and
taking.
it scares me, man, because if it was a boy, I know how to raise boys, dude.
Hmm.
But I don't know shit about raising a girl, dude. I don't know how to dress her. I don't know. You
Doing her
might have a
hair,
full outfit, dude.
doing her hair on.
Watching TikToks and fucking YouTube videos on how to do girls' hair, dude.
That's so cool, man.
But that's the shit that I gotta do,
Hmm.
because she's relying on me, dude.
Yeah, yeah,
And she's in my mind, she's a reflection of me.
yeah.
So if she goes out and she's dirty, you know, I know kids get dirty.
Hmm.
It's part of kid shit.
Yeah.
But my daughter,
I throw you mad respect, man, because like you sitting here and you say that you got to do it and stuff like that, but I've never seen you. It never looks like you take on that role as something you got to do. It always looks like you're enjoying it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
You're
yeah.
taking it on willingly, and it brings joy
But
to your
you
life.
know what though, dude? I'm not doing it by myself. There's a whole NA community out there that's helping me raise my daughter.
That's
The
cool.
my daughter's babysitter.
Hmm.
She's got what, 4 or 5 years clean. She goes to meetings.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
know her. I'm gonna get her on here probably if I'm gonna come up. I want to come up with some specific things to
yeah,
talk about, but I want to get her on here.
and
She's a sponsor.
yeah.
She's
She's a sponsor.
yeah,
She watches my daughter, man. You
yeah.
know, people. This is how I've been humble this month, man. You know why? People I don't are buying my daughter gifts.
Yeah,
You know, I don't know these people,
that's
but they know my daughter,
cool.
and they're buying her gifts, man. And back in addiction, or back before I got this recovering, if you bought my kids anything, I thought of it like, what do you think? I don't know how to. I can't provide for my own kids.
Yeah,
It was that fucking that that
the ego.
that ego. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, like you don't think I can provide for me. Now it's like my daughter has all these people that just love her.
yeah.
You know, she,
To be able to receive love, is just humbling. To practice humility, to be a part of something, man. It's really, really magical,
it is,
miracle
man.
shit.
It's and when she came when I took my daughter, she became the center of attention,
Yeah,
not me.
and that's okay with
That's fine.
you.
That's I'm perfectly fine with
Man, that's cool. That's cool. And she's a cool chick too, your daughter.
that.
She's a cool chick, man. She hangs out. She likes the people that she likes, and
Yeah,
yeah, uh, she's intelligent. You can tell that she's paying attention and
she
she's
she raises.
watching shit.
I took her. I do, like you said, I do service work
Hmm.
for AA, right? And at the meeting that I secretary, they asked, raise your hand if you want if you're a sponsor, or raise your hand if you need a sponsor. And my daughter raises her hand when she says when they ask if anybody wants to be a sponsor, and she raises her hand. Like
That's so cool,
she
man.
claps when people get their sobriety chips.
Yeah. How old is she?
She's like 18 months, I think.
So she's got 18 months clean.
Yeah, dude. she does. Yeah,
That's cool.
she claps. Yeah,
She knows the routine. She knows the sayings. She
yeah,
probably knows when you're praying at the end that it's
she
getting
does.
close.
Yeah, and she'll give out hugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Hugs, not
yeah,
drugs. I can't think of a better note to leave this on. Just talking about the joy and the happiness of the next generation, us changing our lives and making it better for the next
yeah.
generation.
That's what it's about, dude. Like I created enough destruction just in this town.
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
I just need to help rebuild stuff.
Now you're helping, and um, you know how in a way that Miss Taylor or people that haven't seen the lows or the depths of hell, you can help in ways that they can't. It's really cool. That's what's cool about the peer support and stuff like that. All the years in the streets messing up and causing chaos is was on the job training.
Yeah. Now let me ask you a question.
Hmm.
So when you go try to help somebody, right?
Hmm.
Say somebody in recently relapse, and they're still in addiction. Do they treat you as if you were never an addict?
That's a great question, man. And so,
Because I'm going through this right now. Just seeing my daughter's mom.
mhm.
She's not doing so
Is she like, don't counsel me?
well. No, she's like she's losing. Like, well, last time I went to see her, right?
Mhm.
I went to pick my daughter up. She was losing her voice. I'm like, it's because you're smoking off in the wrong side of the boil. That's why you're losing your voice.
Yeah, yeah,
Because you're
yeah.
smoking off the wrong side. And she's looking at me like, how does he know that?
I
I
was
was an
there.
addict too, bro. Like I know this stuff.
I was there.
Like you're lying to me. I see the manipulation game that you're trying to play on me. I see it.
Yeah,
I used to play that same game with other people.
yeah.
Like, how did you forget that I
And
was?
it's so sad, man.
That is, dude. Like, don't forget that I was an addict too.
But yeah, so people do treat you like that, and they treat you like you're better, or they want to try and treat you like you think you're better. And so a lot of times you have to reinstill in them, hey, it's all right,
Yeah,
it's cool.
I'm no better than you, dude. I was there. I
Yeah,
was there.
yeah. And I'm just a guy trying to help you out. Uh, and a lot of times I start off by saying, look, I'm not attacking you. I
Maybe,
want you to know
maybe I should start off that way.
I'm not attacking you, but you're smoking off the wrong side. Man, I've got these six core values that I try to live by, that I try to run the podcast through. Love, integrity, respect, honesty, creativity, and gratitude. Which one of those hits you?
Love, man. Love always.
Yeah?
Love always wins, man.
Ah, good. That's a good
Love
one.
always wins.
That's a good one. Uh, I tell you what, man, I respect you. The integrity that you have, the honesty that you show in the meetings when you speak. That's probably why you've got a lot of slaps on the wrist, because um, you're well spoken, and you can tell that when you talk, you give a shit. And so, just the creativity, being here. Thanks for helping me keep my Cortezes clean. You always give me shit when my
Yeah,
shoes are
man.
dirty. Um, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful as hell for you coming on
I,
here.
I, I'm grateful that you're doing this. You always talk. I've heard you talk about it before, and yeah, dude, this is a great thing that you're doing here, man.
It's a dream come true, brother. I'm doing all the things I said I was gonna do, and I'm,
Yeah,
I'm gonna keep doing that. I love you, Carlos.
love you, bro.
Thank you, man.
Thanks for having me.
We're gonna get you back on here. How many classes you got left for the peer support?
I'm halfway done.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So about six more classes left.
and you do the 40 hour.
Yep,
Yeah.
do your 40 hour and we'll get you back on here. And
I'll let you know when I'm done with it.
okay. Yeah, we'll get you back.
All right, dude.
Thank you, man. Love you.
Love you, bro.